Coming up next on Making Moves. After missing out on federal funding 2 years in a row to expand the Skyway to Brooklyn, the JTA now has a new target and a new strategy. Find out how JTA has improved its bus performance by more than 10%, and we'll tell you how riding transit can help you save money on your taxes. Plus, the JTA is 60. Terry Casey joins me for a look back at some of the authority's greatest achievements. I'm Donna Deegan. These stories and more right now on Making Moves. Hello and welcome to the Season 7 finale of Making Moves. I'm Donna Deegan. The new Mission Impossible movie opened nationwide recently to rave reviews and big crowds. In the transportation world, the real Mission Impossible may be getting your project selected for a federal Tiger grant. U.S. Transportation Secretary Anthony Foxx announced recently that applications to DOT's Tiger grants this year totaled nearly $10 billion. That's almost 20 times the $500 million set aside for the program. Secretary Foxx said the consistent number of high-quality projects we're unable to fund through Tiger every year demonstrates the need for Congress to act to give more communities access to this vital lifeline. The JTA, which has missed out on attempts to get Tiger grant funding to extend the Skyway to the burgeoning Brooklyn neighborhood the past 2 years, has changed its focus this time around.
They really were kind of looking for something, especially in the round coming up, that's tied to their Ladders of Opportunities initiative. And so we even started talking through some of the things that we were doing with DOT and FDA and said, you know, we've got this program for our mobility corridors. It's about tying, creating access to transit, tying high-frequency corridors with our jobs in the First Coast Flyer BRT, educational, healthcare, and all these things. And as we started talking through it, really made sense. It was like, this is really kind of what they're looking for. Unique, different, sort of transformative projects that are different from what you might normally see funded.
Tiger grant winners are expected to be announced later this year. Saving money is always a plus. Saving money on your taxes, well, that's even better. And that's a key part of a new transit-based tax benefit program being offered by the JTA. Making Moves correspondent Eugene Lindsay is here to tell us all about it. And Eugene, I understand this new program offers tax-saving benefits to both riders and their employers.
That's right, Donna. Everybody saves with this program. Now, of course, saving money is never a bad thing, and now local employers can now help their employees save money on their taxes and cash in themselves at the same time.
$1 here, $1 there, it all adds up. And sometimes it leaves you scratching your head looking for a way to save on life's necessities. Well, now the Jacksonville Transportation Authority wants to help you hold on to more of your hard-earned cash, while at the same time enticing new customers to climb aboard mass transit for their daily commute by offering a pre-tax benefit to riders who frequently uses the system.
That's the main purpose of this program, and that is to encourage people to use public transit and save them money as a result of using a commuter tax benefit program like this. It's like any other employee benefit program. When you're taking out health insurance, you're taking out a number of other benefits that you receive from your employer. Those are taken out pre-tax, which means the taxes are not being levied. The income taxes nor the Social Security taxes are taxed on that money that's coming out for those benefits. Well, you can do that with transit too. And that $50 31-day pass can be taken off your paycheck before taxes are levied, which means you save the Social Security on that amount of money and you save the income tax.
Miller says this tax break for using mass transit extends beyond the passengers who depend on JTA for their daily commuting, and that choosing to park and ride can have a major money-saving effect on your finances.
First of all, by using transit instead of your car, you're saving gas dollars, you're saving wear and tear on the car, the tires and all the other things. So those are savings that people will see. Then of course you've got this money savings from the pre-tax program as it's taken out of paychecks. Bottom line is the bottom line. Everybody is going to save money.
And those savings will even impact the companies who allow their employees to take advantage of the pre-tax payroll deduction program, because the businesses will also save on the amount of payroll taxes they pay out on each employee who participate. Miller says the JTA will be launching an all-out campaign blitz to get the word out about the initiative.
We really want it to be successful, and we think that once employers realize just how beneficial it can be for both their employees and themselves, that they'll be encouraging this as well.
The Transit Tax Benefit Program is a national program that is being used in other areas with great success. Miller says that it's being offered here for the first time now because the timing is right.
With all of the rerouting that we have done, with bus rapid transit coming and all the other elements that really will broaden the reach of our system, we think now would be a good time to introduce this program, which is being used by cities across the country now.
And Miller says the commuter tax benefit program is available to any full-time or part-time employee whose company participates in the program. JTA has partnered with 2 companies who are leading providers in commuter benefits. Now, there are no contracts to sign, so if you no longer want to save money on your taxes, then you can just drop out at any time. Now, to learn more about how to get your company involved in the program, just go to jtafla.com and click on the tax benefit program link. But Donna, employees have to set it up first before the savings can start. So encourage your benefits coordinator to call.
All right, so employers, if you're listening, you're encouraged. So go ahead. Eugene Lindsay, thank you so much for joining us. Great to see you this morning. And when JTA completely overhauled its entire transit system back in December, one of the main goals was to increase ridership and improve the on-time performance of its buses. As we reported back in June, overall ridership is up more than 6%. But improving on-time performance was another challenge altogether. As the authority was planning out its route optimization initiative, on-time performance was severely underperforming, hovering around 65%. Not very good. So to get better, JTA began to focus on improving 12 of its poorest performing routes.
The compilation, if you will, of looking at the running time issues, looking at any operator issues that we had operating the route, looking at what our customers did in terms of how long it took them to board or find money or, you know, take a seat. So we did a lot in terms of educating our customers, educating our bus operators, and then we assigned route managers to the routes so that they were looking at those routes throughout the day.
By the time JTA launched route optimization, on-time performance was already up 3% and climbing. By April, it had ticked up another 3%, and in June, 3 more. 1 month later, 78% of JTA's routes were on time. That is a 13% improvement in less than a year.
We're definitely pleased with the progress. We certainly would like to be over 80. We know that with any transit system that is subjected to either weather or traffic, that reaching 100 is impossible, but we will know we can do better.
9 bus operators were recently recognized for achieving at least 90% on-time levels 1 or more months, and each received a certificate of excellence from the authority. Work is progressing rapidly on the new compressed natural gas fueling station at the authority's Myrtle Avenue campus. The new station is being constructed by the Clean Energy Company. The facility will resemble a standard gas station when it's completed, but will feature natural gas instead of petroleum-based gasoline. Besides fueling the JTA's new CNG buses, the station will also be accessible to anyone that might want to use the facility for their fleets or private cars and trucks. The station is expected to open in December. The JTA turns 60 years old this year, and as you might imagine, those 6 decades bring with them a long list of service, achievement, and innovation. With a special look back at some of those milestones is Making Moves senior correspondent Terry Casey. And Terry, 60 years of transportation stories and events to navigate through. That's a lot.
It is a lot, Donna, but I have to add that it was fascinating, simply fascinating. Plus, I had some help from a real expert when it comes to Jacksonville's history. Recently, I sat down with Emily Liska of the Jacksonville Historical Society, and together we sifted through the agency's past, present, and took a glance at what the future may hold in store. But I guess the best place to start is at the beginning, 60 years ago, and before there even was a Jacksonville Transportation Authority. What would become the JTA was given birth in the mid-50s when the Florida legislature created the Jacksonville Expressway Authority to build highways and bridges.
Florida is booming. Jacksonville is booming.
Emily Liska heads Jacksonville's Historical Society.
It's the days when all the shopping in Jacksonville was mostly centered in downtown. Jacksonville was indeed the gateway to the east coast of Florida. This is post-war Florida.
Two key bridges, the Matthews and Fuller Warren, opened just before the Expressway Authority was established.
So they were racing along. Now you had numerous bridges spanning the St. Johns River.
The decade saw the first automatic tolls go up on the Fuller Warren and expansion of the Jacksonville Expressway system.
So this Jacksonville Expressway Authority actually had a lot to hang its hat on and a lot to live up to, and truly an authority was needed.
The 60s in Jacksonville were a mixed bag, and the city was stretching its boundaries.
It was clear there was going to be a lot of geographic expansion, and indeed in that decade there was, because we had consolidation and the city limits were pushed out, and out.
The Expressway Authority knew that would mean expansion of needs in just about every facet of transportation, including roads and bridges.
So this was the point where we had the Hart Bridge, some love to call it the Bridge to Nowhere, and two new roads to the beaches, particularly a concentration on four-laning Atlantic Boulevard. So there were real differences in the 60s. As our town grew, so did our road system and our bridge system. 70s was a pivotal time for transportation in Jacksonville. You have the Jacksonville Expressway Authority view one of the largest problems on the scene, and this was bus transportation.
The Jacksonville Coach Company was going broke. At the city's request, the Expressway Authority took over the failing bus system, buying up the assets of the Coach Company, and has been operating it ever since under a new name, the JTA. It was 1971.
So this new Jacksonville Transportation Authority creates some very inventive programs with bus service. They've got the Park and Ride, which involves parking your car in the suburbs and then taking a bus known as the Flyer into downtown while you relax.
Dial-A-Ride came into being and provided a way for those confined to wheelchairs to get to and from errands, appointments, and such. Construction on J. Turner Butler Boulevard got underway as the 70s began. The completion of JTB put an exclamation point on the 70s, if not a symbolic capstone on much that had come before then. That road to nowhere, that's what the critics called it, closed out a decade that set the stage for what lay ahead for the JTA and all of Northeast Florida. And we'll have that part of the story when we return.
They step up. Our service members volunteer to protect us in the most dangerous places around the world. And when they are severely ill or injured, returning to their families is only the beginning of their long road home. Wounded Warrior Project provides these brave men and women whatever they need to continue their fight for independence, at no cost for life. So now it's time for a grateful nation to step up. Join us at findwwp.org.
Even though we've teamed up with the Jaguars, we're not just going to be cheerleaders.
I don't see any way where the Jaguars don't go undefeated.
You can still expect the same hard-hitting, unbiased opinions. We're not expecting any special favors from the Jaguars.
For the hometown team, I don't just see one Super Bowl, not one, not two, not three, not four.
So to keep our listeners' trust, we have to walk that fine line. And you can count on us.
Commuting to and from work was costing me a lot of money. Now, with transit tax benefits, I can use pre-tax dollars to have a cheaper, more reliable way to work.
Transit commuter tax benefits save me real money. The cost of my commute is deducted before taxes are computed on my income. This tax savings allows me to collect about 3 months of transportation costs over a 12-month period.
Just ask your employer. It's that easy.
Your transit commuter tax benefit is waiting.
Going to work just became much nicer.
You're watching Making Moves, honored by the American Public Transportation Association with the prestigious 2014 Ad Wheel Award for Excellence in Television and Video.
We have been looking back at the early days of what is now the Jacksonville Transportation Authority as it celebrates 60 years in business this year. The first 25 years was the Jacksonville Expressway Authority, beginning to build the first part of the city's expressway system in the 50s and 60s, and then transition into a road and bridge builder and a transit provider in the 70s. But in the 1980s would come two of the agency's most controversial projects. When the 80s hit, the JTA had projects on several fronts, including restructuring the bus system, creating new routes, new schedules, new stops.
And the whole idea was to attract new ridership and to better serve the ridership that existed.
In '85, the federal government chipped in $23 million to build the Skyway Express. Construction started a year later, and the first leg was up and running by the end of the decade.
It was only about 7/10 of a mile, but doggone it, it was working and it was moving people.
The 80s were memorable for other reasons, too.
The tolls were gone, and these great scenes of the toll booths being knocked down by construction equipment was just all the talk.
By the end of the 80s, traffic was crossing over the St. Johns River on a new bridge. The Dames Point Bridge, officially the Napoleon Bonaparte Broward Bridge, was the longest cable-stayed bridge in the U.S. when it opened in March 1989 with the moniker the Bridge to Nowhere. The pace picked up in the 90s, and the JTA rolled up its sleeves.
You have a new Acosta Bridge spanning the St. Johns River near downtown Jacksonville.
It expanded the reach of the Skyway Express from Hemming Plaza over the Acosta to what was then FCCJ.
Suddenly, it can take people across the St. Johns River, connecting to the South Bank. This is a terribly exciting ride in time.
The agency makes a major move, relocating its longtime Hemming Plaza transfer hub.
And it's moved to an area between State and Union Street near the downtown FCCJ campus.
It was called the FCCJ Station. Later, its official name would be the Rosa Parks Station. Then somebody came up with a way to combine bikes and buses. The idea caught on.
Another collaborative method for transportation is the bicycle ride program. You can now bring your bicycle right to a bus.
Jacksonville gets the Jaguars. And the JTA scores big with its stadium shuttle service.
It's 2000, it's a new decade, and it's a new century. And really, JTA was already ahead of the game because their proposed flyover and finished flyover at Atlantic Boulevard heading to Mayport, it was completed 7 months ahead of schedule.
Other JTA projects included widening Heckscher Drive and opening the Wonderwood Bridge. Midway through the decade, Jacksonville hosted Super Bowl 39 and tens of thousands of fans who descended on the city.
The Super Bowl offered a real first for the JTA, and that brief week, nearly 500,000 riders boarded the Skyway Express or one of their flyers. So the numbers just skyrocketed, and without the JTA, that event would have likely been an impossibility in our town.
The first decade of a young century ended with a new Beach Boulevard Bridge spanning the Intracoastal, replacing the old McCormick Drawbridge. And the door opens to a fresh and diverse decade for the JTA. The agency got out of the blocks early, targeting an intersection that had such a high rate of accidents it was branded Jacksonville's most dangerous intersection for 6 straight years.
They completed a major traffic interchange at Atlantic and Kernan, and that certainly relieved congestion in the area.
JTA built the overpass, changed traffic patterns, and that took care of it. About the same time, the JTA introduced new ramps at I-95 and J. Turner Butler, leading to fewer accidents and shortening drive times, among other things. Construction underway in the same area right now is aimed at a long-term solution for JTB, I-95, and US 1. The JTA had a solution in place to counter congestion during One Spark, a huge crowdfunding festival downtown.
It was the JTA that provided 90,000 rides on the Skyway Express in and out of Jacksonville, the heart of Jacksonville. It's downtown.
The JTA entered a new era in 2012 when Nathaniel Ford Sr. was chosen as new CEO. He brought with him new visions, goals, and purpose, including a long-range plan to transform travel in Jacksonville, among other things, and a short-range plan now well underway, including route optimization, real-time passenger information, the First Coast Flyer, compressed natural gas, and more. The JTA has come a long way in 60 years, but in the last few, a new sense of energy, excitement, and determination has surfaced, as if to let us know that this is just the beginning.
We're in a new era. Transportation planning in this day and age has reached a new pinnacle. And Jacksonville, Florida, and the JTA now have the advantage of transportation planners, not just people who have the academic experience, but the academic and the practical experience. And with this new pursuit, a pursuit that we didn't have in the 1950s, people with immeasurable knowledge in transportation planning, I think you're going to see changes in the next 60 years that will wildly surpass the last 60.
Frankly, the changes that could come in the next 10 years could change Northeast Florida transportation forever. What with the Mayport Ferry changes, the future of the Skyway still undecided, the possibility of commuter rail in the next decade, and so much more, the future could be really wild. Donna?
Well, it really is interesting to look back at all of it, and you start to think about what would today look like if we had never had the JTA and all that it's brought into our lives.
All right, think about this. With no JTB and all the development that has brought, perhaps no town center. With no Dames Point Bridge, the so-called bridge to nowhere, right? Maybe that part of the county wouldn't have the growth that it's experienced in the last decade, and there are so many more examples.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember when they called JTB the road to nowhere as well. So you see how all that went. It's going to be fun to watch it all happen. Terry Casey, thanks so much for a great look back. That was fun.
Thank you, Donna.
Now, an update on Complete Streets. You may remember back in July, JTA Senior Transportation Planner Fred Jones was here telling us about interactive charrettes that were going to start in Arlington. Community leaders, local residents, and Jacksonville University's president, Tim Cost, joined the conversation to create a complete street community right in front of the university. Making Moves correspondent Karel Danzy joins us from Arlington. So how was that three-day event, Karel?
This was a great experience. The most important key to the success of the design charrettes are the residents. The designs incorporate areas where residents can walk, bike, and access public transit on a complete street. The University Boulevard and Merrill Road corridor are the gateway and welcome center to Jacksonville University. Jacksonville University president and proud alumni Tim Cost shared his vision of what he hopes to see in this area.
We always appreciate the incredible remarks we get about how beautiful the campus is at Jacksonville University. And we have 240 beautiful acres on the St. John's, but we've just begun to scratch the surface. The idea is, how do we make ourselves of Arlington? Working with JTA, how do you make the whole thing more welcoming, safe, able to be moved around? And it's always going to be a beautiful campus.
And those that have lived and worked in this area for years came to the River House and pointed out hot spots, the good and the bad.
That's what these maps represent, is the result of working with the stakeholders throughout the course of the day. Safety is a concern with lighting, the ability to cross the street. We've heard vehicle speeds are too high. Can we do something to make them, to make the cars slow down? Accommodation of bicycles, so making it easier to ride a bike along the corridor. Those types of things. Those are revolve around some of the main things that we heard.
Police officers with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office shared insight about areas that could be improved because of traffic or crime.
Their take on it is that the safety situation would be much improved if we were to improve the lighting situation along the corridor. We spent yesterday walking the corridor and we got a lot of good perspectives, but that's a one-day snapshot. They are in the corridor and they respond to incidents on a daily basis, so they bring that perspective, and so they were able to share with us some of the concerns with respect to safety, specifically with lighting. So that's one of the things that we heard.
This is how things really get done. And the idea of keeping our 4,000 students safe, JTA gets it. And this is a big part of what we're doing now. It's how do we keep the streets all around Jacksonville University and Arlington safe.
After residents shared their input, designers created these, the visual of a complete street. An area that incorporates cycling, shopping, and pedestrian traffic while granting access to public transit.
The role Jacksonville University can play in the local economy is huge. We just finished an economic impact study where just last year we were responsible for $222 million in economic impact. It can be even greater. That's why we enjoy partnering with JTA, because you could look at the surrounding area here in Arlington, which is a great town, and it will be even greater. And you could look at hotels and restaurants and services for the students we bring in from all over the world. I think this is going to be an example of, we talk a lot in this town about public-private partnerships, but the ability for JTA, Jacksonville University, the city of Jacksonville, to come together and look at an economic entity like the university together with great utility work and say, how do we make ourselves more attractive to people from all around the country who want to come here, study here, and stay here?
In Arlington, Carell Danzy, JTA, Making Moves.
That is great for the Arlington community. Definitely a big economic impact. For more information about Complete Streets, visit jtamobilityworks.com. This show wraps up our 7th season on the air, but we're not going anywhere. We are happy to report we'll be back for another great season of stories for you starting next month. We're also launching a new Making Moves franchise, our podcasts. The Making Moves podcasts give us a new way to get the latest transportation news and information to you in a new format and with more immediacy. The podcast will be produced by Bill Milnes. Bill created this show 8 years ago and has been at the helm ever since. The podcast will bring new and innovative insight along with some great guests providing their particular expertise. So we're excited about this new venture and we hope you'll let us know what you think. And that wraps up this edition of Making Moves. Thanks for taking the time to join us. Don't forget to like us on Facebook at facebook.com/makingmoves. And for all of us here at Making Moves, I'm Donna Deegan. We'll see you next time right here for our Season 8 premiere. Take care, everyone.